Hi guys, welcome back. I'm so glad to be back. I was gone for a little while. I was traveling and got to go to Israel for my birthday, which was absolutely amazing. And then when I got back, I had to jump straight back into work, so I haven't had a chance to film a video. But today I want to show you guys something that I've been dying to get this video up. So, sounds like there's something jingling in here. Do you hear that? Or is it my jewelry? Everybody always asks about my jewelry. Her name's Miranda Hope. She's a jeweler here in LA, and not this one, but these earrings. She makes amazing crystal jewelry. This was a custom piece, so make sure and look her up. If you're not already subscribed, make sure and click the link down below so that you can help me to build this channel, help more people to find this channel. And if you want to see what else is going on beyond the realm of YouTube, and especially beyond the realm of just tarot and into the other things that I do, which is the vast spectrum of metaphysical teachings, then go to my website, 22 Teachings, where you're going to find all kinds of things. We've got tons of online classes. There's classes you can download. There's free classes. There's rituals. There's articles. There's lots of more videos, podcasts, you name it. Recommended reading lists. It's all there. So please go after this video to 22 Teachings, and you're going to find all of that stuff. But today I'm really excited to open a deck, and we're actually going to do an artist highlight. So once again, I was able to interview the creator of this deck, and this is the CIRCO Tarot. All right, let's go ahead and get this open. So her name's Marissa de la Peña, and she actually lives here in LA, which I didn't actually know that till I did the interview, and part of me was like, God, I should have just had her come be on the channel. Marissa's background is actually in that of textiles, and I guess she was in the fashion industry and then eventually got to a point where she realized she didn't want to be in fashion anymore. She felt like it was kind of a toxic industry, and I'm sure that, you know, any industry can be. Oh, I see why it's got a little bell on it. How cute. I already love it. This is what I see so far. So for the last 5 years, she's been a freelance illustrator, and then for the last 3 years, she's been making divination decks. So this is not the first nor the last deck that she's made, and she also has had a long history with the tarot, because she was actually gifted her very first tarot deck when she was 14 years old by her mother, which I think is so magical. I said this in other videos. My parents would never, I can't imagine them, at least when I was younger, giving me a tarot deck. It's not something that runs in my family at all. And so people who do have that kind of mom or aunt or grandfather or grandmother who are able to pass along some kind of divinatory tool, I think is very cool. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap this. I know that my kitties are going to already be excited that they have a new toy to play with. And it looks like she's given me a little bag here. How cute is this? Go ahead and open this up. It looks like these are all silk screened or stamps printed by hand, and looks like dyed by hand as well. I love that. From what I could understand, it sounds like she was originally gifted the Rider-Waite deck, and Marissa just shared with me that she was always the girl when she was younger in the New Age section of the library. You know, depending on where you're from, the New Age section is probably bigger or smaller. In fact, the other day, my friend and I went to a bookstore that's here in LA that I really like called Skylight. And I always go straight to the occult section. And I went there, and all of a sudden it was like some other thing. And I was like, shoot, they must have moved it. But it always was in the very, very back of the store. So I thought, oh, maybe they moved it to a more kind of like prime location. And so it was always next to like the different religious books. So I found the section on Christianity and the section on Eastern religions, but I could not find any of the occult books, except for they had one. It was Aleister Crowley's 777. So I thought, that's weird, like, and it was in with the Eastern philosophy, like in with, you know, Buddhism and I Ching books and things. And then I walked around the other side of that little section of the bookstore, and there was a huge area with all of the tarot books up on the top, and I ended up buying a book on Kabbalah. But yeah, I was very glad to see that I was right. They had just given the occult section, the metaphysical section, a little bit more prime real estate there. So let's go ahead and get into this deck while I tell you guys a little bit more about the creator. And she is both the creator and the illustrator. Here's the box. You know, sometimes you've got one person who creates the deck or is sort of the director of the deck, if you will, and then somebody else that is the actual artist. And that's definitely what I would have to do if I ever created a deck, because, well, I have, with my friend Tara, I've collaborated on a deck where I wrote the meanings of the cards and she did the illustration. But I really do consider that it's the artist that is the main creator of the deck. But for instance, the Rider-Waite deck, it was Pamela Coleman Smith, or a lot of people call it the RWS deck, Rider-Waite Smith, for the director Arthur Edward Waite, and then the publisher, which was Rider Publishing, and then the artist, Pamela Coleman Smith. So Crowley did the same thing. He didn't paint his own deck. So a lot of people find a different artist that's a good artist, even though they have the ideas that can actually execute the artwork. So I love the fact that when you see an absolutely created and illustrated deck by one person. So the CIRCO Tarot, CIRCO means circus in Spanish, 78 cards and a booklet, and it's in one of these really nice kind of boxes that you can keep. It is a more modern, more recent thing that cards more commonly come in really nice boxes. It used to just be you got sort of your standard flimsy slip top box. And in my tarot class, I always say, throw those out. They just fall apart. You want to keep your cards wrapped in some kind of a scarf or a cloth so that you have an instant tablecloth whenever you go to take them out. But once you have a deck that has like a really, really nice case like this, there's no reason to not keep them in the box. And you could honestly still tie them up in a cloth, or I'll be keeping them in this little bag. So we can see already it's really bright, and this deck did come out in 2018, but I know that there's been multiple editions of it, and this is the 5th edition. So right off the bat, we see the little booklet, and in tarot terminology, this is called the LWB, the little white booklet, and we see just a quick description for all 78 of the cards, and it looks like she also does have a little meaning here for each of the reversals. And right off the bat, we see the Fool. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. They're on glossy cardstock, no borders, which I love. Look at that guy. It really invokes an emotion. Do you guys think? There's a lot of, like, it kind of like pops out, like there's some movement here, and that the colors kind of, they really invoke something. I'm just going to go through these. Here's the Magician. And one thing that I love about the Magician, one thing that I love about all these guys so far, is that they have these really bright colors. They have different colors of skin, like purple and blue. Here's the High Priestess. This is cool. So look, she's got this 2 gloves on, and they have B and J, the letters that are normally on her pillars. So she is the pillars. She is the temples. Here's all the pomegranates on her veil behind her. Here's the Empress with her symbol of Venus. Now, it's pretty clear that Marissa has included on each of these cards the astrological symbol that goes around with this, because we saw the moon in this card. So we'll see if that continues throughout. The beautiful Empress. Here's the Emperor, and that is the Aries card. So I asked Marissa what her influences were, her artistic influences. Oh, the Hierophant Thoth. Don't you know I love that, because he is such the magical guardian of the Hermetic tradition. And she said she was inspired by film noir, by fashion history, by her own Mexican and indigenous heritage, and by textiles. And then she also gave a list of artists that she is inspired by. This is the Chariot, very modern take. And I love this. She's, again, incorporated the duality, the polarity. Normally you see that in the 2 Sphinx, but she's just put it right in the person themselves in that black and white top. The artist that she lists, Camille Rose Garcia, who I also love. Do you guys know who that is? She paints really like amazing but kind of dark fantasy stuff. It's really cool. If you go look her up, you might recognize it. Remedios Varo, who was a really amazing surrealist. And she also lists Clive Barker's Abarat. I'm not sure what that is. Probably a work by him. Cirque du Soleil, which doesn't surprise me that we can see that influence here. I just think these are so gorgeous. And actually, this is one of those decks that I had looked online and kind of got an idea of some of the pictures. The Hanged Woman instead of the Hanged Man. This is one of those decks that I have to say doesn't fully convey through photographs the vibrancy and the beauty and maybe even just the feel of the cards. I hope you can kind of get it through this video, because I remember looking at it and thinking like, oh, this is a beautiful deck. But now that I'm seeing it in person, there's just another layer. I don't know, maybe it's a energy thing. There's my buddy, the Death card. And Temperance, she's actually making a cocktail. I mean, how many of these are little suggestions or things that are kind of implied in the deck? And she's like, I'm going to take that implication that this angel is pouring this drink back and forth, and I'm just going to put a cocktail shaker in her hand. I love that. Oh, the devil. It's a very sexy devil. Kind of digging that. And she also listed Henry Darger as one of her artistic influences. Do you guys know who that is? I remember watching a documentary about him. He was one of those guys that was a super prolific artist but kept all of his work private. And I don't know that it was discovered until maybe after he passed away, but he had just like volumes and volumes of these kind of fantasy pictures of children, and it was really, really cool. If you can look up Henry Darger if you haven't seen that documentary, very inspiring. So obviously, more than just an artist, she is very much a tarot reader herself, has been so for 10 years. This is the Judgment card. Look, I gotta take a second with this one. I mean, look at that. It's like these souls coming through this portal almost. Are they passing through judgment? Are they on their way towards it? Is this the veil between the worlds? She did mention that she's very tapped into this idea of the veil, that she has a very strong connection with that. And actually with her grandfather, who she considered to be a guide for her while she was making this deck. He had passed away before she started working on it. And she shared that he had been the closest person in her life. We're getting into the wands now. There's the Ace of Wands. She said, I would always talk to his picture on my mantle and call on him before I went to sleep. I started to feel his presence about halfway through working on this deck. And when I doubted myself, I could hear him say, Li Miha or Misa, which is what he would always say to me. I felt his blessings and I felt myself connect with him while working on the CIRCO Tarot. There's the 5. Wow. I think that's so awesome. I actually worked with my grandfather as a reader. He passed away right before I became a professional tarot reader. And I made an agreement with him. I said, grandfather, who is actually who I inherited my shrine from right there, would you be willing to help me in this next part of my journey as a tarot reader? Bring me the people that I'm supposed to be able to help and help me to see something deeper in the cards. He was a real character. So I love that she was able to actually really connect with her grandfather through the making of this deck. What a powerful thing. And I love that one. Something that I talk about in my video on ancestors, that just because somebody's passed away does not mean that the relationship is over. And I think that working through an artistic medium, such as what she was doing, is an amazing way to deepen a bond and deepen a connection with somebody that you connect with as a guide on an energetic level. Queen of Wands, and she's got not one, but two of her little black kitties there. I asked her what the first card that she completed was, and she said that it was actually the Magician, and that she always starts with the Magician when working on a new tarot deck. It's kind of cool, right? And there's a couple other decks that she has. There's the Persephone Tarot, which is a really cool, just red, black, and white deck with the Persephone myth going down into the underworld and the search for her to come back up again. And then she also has a tarot deck called Strange Lands, and I saw that online as the Strange Lands Oracle. So I don't know if the tarot deck and the Oracle are two different things or the same thing. And if you want to follow her, she is on Instagram as CIRCO Tarot, CIRCO Tarot. And that's also her website, circotarot.com. But I also noticed that while this deck is sold out on her website, there's two tarot websites. If you guys, this is a good little insider's tip. If you want to know a couple really amazing websites that put out a really beautiful curated selection of new sort of like independent decks and artistic decks. One is called Little Red Tarot and the other one is called Two Sides Tarot. I know that one of those is in the UK. God, maybe they both are. I'm not sure. So Two Sides Tarot and Little Red Tarot, I'll leave all the links down below, but I know that CIRCO is available on both of those sites, and some of her other decks are as well. But what you can find on her website, she has the little bags. She had other things like these really beautiful hand-created like wall hangings, tapestries. So there's all kinds of cool stuff for you guys to check out there. Here's the Six of Cups. We're about halfway through the cups now. I asked her if she could give us some insight into how she gets inspired, and she says usually she gets inspired and ideas from her dreams. Oh wow, I love that. Just the contrast, the simplicity of that too. And also when she meditates. And she said she likes to just light some incense and go through the library of books of images that she has. She likes to bookmark different textiles, styles, and patterns that draw her in, that she's inspired by music, and she likes to listen to that while she paints. And when it comes to making this deck, the CIRCO, of course, it's inspired by the world behind the big top, and she wanted it to meld all different inspirations and moods, which I think she was very effective in doing. And she says, I try to connect each card I paint to a real experience and feeling from my past. It helps move my hand across the paper. I can totally see this being coming from a dream or a meditation. There's the King of Cups. Merman. I asked her also if there's anything that she felt that she needed to change about the traditional tarot decks. And one of the things that she did share, and I think that a lot of people share this sentiment, is that when you look at a Rider-Waite deck, you've got a bunch of people with the same color skin, and when you see couples together, they're a man and a woman. And like a lot of people, that's not really representative of our world. And so what she said is that she wanted to do a Rider-Waite style deck, meaning that she didn't want to go completely out of the box, although I do think this is a very, very original take. But you can see the nod to Rider-Waite. Here's the Three of Swords with the three knives stuck in the heart there. And the classical meanings of the cards, the classical interpretations. But she wanted to include as much color and as much ambiguity as possible. One thing is that I'm noticing she doesn't call this suit swords, she calls it knives. And I think that that is actually something that makes sense, because knives are something that we interact with a lot more during our day than swords. Just like cups are a regular thing in our life, so are knives, and they're archetypes, and at the same time, they're literal things that we are working with. She talked a little bit about how she likes to set up to prepare herself, and that she likes to use Palo Santo, and she also makes homemade sprays to kind of clear her space out. 10? Yeah, 10 of knives, poor guy. And she also likes to make sure that she's always well fed and hydrated, because she tends to just, once she goes in, to work really, really long hours. And just to highlight the importance of self-care, there's the Knight of Knives. On his way, he's got his little knife tucked into his boot there. And I also asked her what was the most challenging card, and she shared with me that it was the Lover's card. And she said that she's in the process of healing her own feelings around intimacy and self-love, and that it's always been kind of a hard card for her to understand and to connect with. This is the Ace of Pentacles, and I love this one. These really have that circus vibe to them. There's the 2, and then look at the 3. This is great. Look at this little guy down here. I'm really loving these, I gotta say. These are really beautiful. And what a cool take on the 3 of Pentacles, isn't it? But I totally understand what she means about having like a difficulty connecting to that card. In fact, I've always felt a little bit of a disconnection, not to make it all about me, but the Lover's card, like I get why she's saying that, because I don't see the Lover's card as the true love card. I see a lot of the cards that are in the suit of cups, like the 10 of Cups, the 2 of Cups, the 6 of Cups, even the Ace of Cups, as a lot more specific messages about love or romance or self-love than I do the Lover's card specifically. The Lover's card is the card that corresponds to Gemini, and Gemini is the twins. It's polarity, so it's a little bit, honestly, more of like the twin flame energy than it is necessarily the husband and wife or wife and wife kind of energy. It's a lot more about 2 different people that kind of have their own unique viewpoints, and how one is not right and the other one wrong, that they're different, but that they can come together to be 2 parts to create something more. And I don't see that combination as being 2 halves that make a whole. I see it as being 2 wholes that make a greater whole, right? There's a way that Dion Fortune talks about the lovers that I think is very interesting. And she says that 2 people, a couple coming together, that it's not 2 parts coming together, that it's 4 parts coming together, because each person, whether male or female, still has their own masculine and feminine side. So it's actually 4 quarters that come together, which I absolutely love. Here's the Page of Pentacles. And it's funny because I was thinking, I don't know if maybe it's because the other night I saw a video on YouTube that it was like the last Adventure Time ever. You guys know that cartoon? But when I was looking online actually at her deck, the Strange Lands Tarot, it did remind me a little bit of Adventure Time, which I think was an amazing show. And then, I don't know, that's just reminding me a little bit of it. Here's the Knight of Pentacles, a little cowboy. Queen of Pentacles, and how much do I love this? Talk about ambiguity. Look at the King of Pentacles. Wearing, I mean, it very much could be a man or a woman or ... And that's what I constantly say, is that the cards aren't gendered. A king can be a woman, a king can be a man. And let me go ahead and show you guys the back of these. That's the back. They have the little eye, which clearly is a theme for her. Well, these are fantastic. I absolutely love this deck. I can't wait to do some readings, and we're going to go ahead and just pull a card right now, and just for the sake of getting a little message for those of you guys who stayed all the way till the end of this video, I really, really appreciate all of you who are here watching. Let's go ahead and ask the guides to give us a message that we can take away from this video today. I'm going to shuffle one more time. I'm going to cut with my left hand, my receptive hand, and go ahead and show you guys the card on top. Let's see. I always pull swords. 5 of Swords. Okay. This is the card that says that no matter what it is that you put out to the world, not everybody is going to understand you. Not everyone's going to get what you say. Sometimes you're going to say things that you are really excited about and other people are going to not even listen. Sometimes you're going to say something with good intentions and it's going to be taken the wrong way. Sometimes you're going to feel like nobody's listening. Do not let that stop you. You're going through a challenging time. Don't let that halt you putting your truth out there. You don't need validation from anyone else. The truth is always revealed. And even if you feel like you're speaking into the void, there is somebody out there listening. Anytime there's a challenge, there's always an important message behind it, which is asking you to persevere. This is not a destination. It's only a step along your path. Again, thank you guys so much. Thanks to Marissa. Make sure and follow her on Instagram. Check out her website. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.